Hello everyone, welcome back to Everything Tax, a podcast series by Andersen UAE. I am Kanika Duseja, Associate Director with Andersen UAE.
And along with her, I'm Gurleen Sethi, working as a Senior Manager with Andersen in the UAE.
So here we are, hosting you to shed some light on the most trending topic, that is voluntary disclosures, and bring some practical insights into the recent development in VD filings basis our experience and learnings. As all listeners will agree, I think it's very common that the tax registrants, after submission of VAT returns, come across errors which they have made in the prior VAT return filings, which could be due to numerous reasons such as incorrect tax position, arithmetical errors, etc. etc. So to address that mechanism for rectification of errors, the VAT regulation has captured various instances wherein a VD filing would be required.
Kanika, since we have mentioned about the VD requirements, so let's now discuss the major impacts on the UAE businesses due to the updates which have been recently published in the tax procedure law with respect to VD filings.
Yes, Gurleen, I totally agree with you. I think that's the most talked around topic at the moment because the businesses now are required to submit VD application, even for instances wherein the discovered error has no tax due. Which actually implies that if any tax registrant misses to report a transaction in relation to any kind of zero-rated supply, exempt supply or RCM transaction, they will be required to submit a VD application for such omissions, which was earlier not the case. But Gurleen, I have one question in mind. Do you think there will be penalties even if you file VDs for such instances?
Yes, Kanika. So to answer your question, the administrative penalties levied would be a minimum of 8,500 dirhams when there is no tax impact. And the instances wherein there is a tax impact, as per the general provisions, the penalties will be 1,000 AED for the first time VD and 2,000 AED for the repetitive, in addition to the variable and late payment penalties.
Oh, interesting. But here the challenge is that the Mara portal does not allow submission of VD applications for instances at the moment. So most importantly, I believe that the condition for reporting a minimum net VAT liability of 10,000 in a VD filing may be removed. And going forward, VDs could be submitted for any prior period, irrespective of the threshold. And that is something we are still awaiting clarity from FTA because the ambiguity still exists.
Yes, there is an ambiguity indeed in this area. So let me just reiterate with an example. If I missed to report zero-rated suppliers for the tax period pertaining to December 2019 and I discovered the such error in March 2023, that may warrant a VD filing with minimum penalty of 8,500 dirhams.
Absolutely right, Gurleen.
Okay, Kanika, I have another question. What if in the instance wherein we have already filed the return and we identified an error before the due date of the VAT return?
Yes, now this is a good question. So for that, we have an option to revise the return through the edit button available on the portal, and there will be no penalties for it since it is within the due date of filing the return. So while we are discussing the new updates, I'm also reminded of an extract from the newly added provision under Statute of Limitation, which mentions that no VDs may be submitted after expiration of 5 years from the end of the relevant tax period. Any comments on that, Gurleen?
Yes, I can best describe this with a small illustration. So for the tax periods pertaining from January to March 2018, now we can't file the VDs since 5 years have expired from the end of the relevant tax period.
Oh, so to summarize, the registrants should be very mindful of the fact before they file for any VDs and should refer back to the updated provisions. And that brings us to the end of our discussion for today. Thank you everyone for listening to this podcast. Please do follow us on social media for regular updates.